Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5 The Zone. Well, we are reaching the midway point of the college football season. Yes, our local teams are playing Game 6. And Game 6, halfway to 12, right? Well, that's the regular season. Then we'll see what comes after that. Conference title game, bowl games, maybe a playoff game. We don't know where that's going, but here comes Game 6. And to prepare us for that, for BYU, a perfect 5-0, getting ready to go to Arizona. Here's the offensive coordinator, Aaron Roderick.
Coming off the win over West Virginia, do you see anything on tape? Do you feel like you guys need to work on in particular ahead of Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of things to work on, but I thought we played really well in the game. That was the most explosive game we've had in a while. Tons of big plays. And, we got our passing game, kind of unleashed our passing game a little more than we had in prior games because earlier in the season we didn't need to. This game, they were pretty determined not to let LJ get involved, and so we decided to throw the ball down the field a little more, and it was. I thought the execution was really good.
We've seen you come out early in these games, last few, and throw it down the field, if not the first play in the first few plays. Is that by design?
Yeah, we've always kind of been that way. You know, we're a team that we want to run the ball, and play action pass is our bread and butter, and so yeah, there's no sense in waiting. We're gonna always be aggressive.
Did you have? Were you anticipating them to kind of come up, bring their safeties up, and to stop the run and stop LJ?
It's 5 games in a row now we've had defenses do something different than what they'd shown on film.
Wow.
And we've been sort of brainstorming what those reasons are. And but yeah, they were very determined not to let LJ get off to a good start. And so rather than forcing it, we just said, okay, well, if they're going to play like that, we're going to throw the ball. And so that's what we did.
Have you been seeing the ability from Bear in the passing game in practice that he showed against West Virginia?
Yeah, he's a really good passer, and he showed it in the game. And like I said before, the 4 games prior to that, we didn't really need to throw it that much. And each game we've thrown it a little bit more and kind of opened things up a little more. But yeah, he's a very capable passer.
Arizona's defense is shown to be really good so far this year. What are you seeing from them? What's made them be so successful so far this year?
They're very good. They have a unique scheme. Coach Gonzalez is a Rocky Long disciple, and they do a really good job. He's an excellent coach. They run a good system, and they have good players. And they'll be the best defense we've played so far this year. They're top 4 in our conference in everything, and I think they're number 2 in the nation in pass defense and number 1 in our league. And they stop the run. They're very committed to stopping the run. I'm very impressed with them and have a lot of respect for them.
Pretty ball hawk heavy. They take the ball away.
Yeah, they have, I think, 7 interceptions, which is first or second in our league, maybe tied for. They make a lot of plays on the ball. They have a good pass rush. I mean, they're just very good all around.
Do you have an updated timetable on Sione Moa and JoJo? Just what are you guys expecting for potential return timeline?
I don't know exactly, but they'll both be out for a little while. Yeah.
As you look at LJ, you talk about these teams trying to slow him down. What can you do? Is it just getting the passing game on film to force them to back off?
Once we started throwing the ball down the field, then he got loose on some runs. It's just those things balance each other out.
Rex looks like an athlete. Do you think we're going to see a little bit of him?
Yeah, he was supposed to play a little more the other night, and it just didn't work out. But he's part of our. He's one of our better athletes, and we have some good things for him.
How highly do you guys value obviously holding on to the ball, the 3 turnovers and the like? How much of that is an emphasis?
Well, I'm not going to freak out about it in one game because we went 4 games with 0. And I think we're still top 10 in the country in fewest turnovers. It is an issue, though, in that one game. And if it continues to happen, then that's a problem. But a couple of them were the one on the option play. Their guy made an unbelievable play. I mean, that's our best run play for 2 years. And sometimes we live a little dangerously with that pitch. But we haven't fumbled one in 2 or 3 seasons, and he made a really great play. And then the interception was a screen pass that we scored out to Parker earlier in the game on the same play, ran a different version of it, and they didn't rush hard that time, and they made a good play. But possessing the ball, the way we carry the football, that's something we have to be demanding of all of our players. And so, yes, 3 turnovers is too many. On the other hand, as long as that trend doesn't continue, we're not going to panic. We're going to just keep doing what we do because we have taken very good care of the ball overall for the season.
How impressed have you been with your receivers and their ability to to get yards after the catch this season?
Good, yeah. I mean, Chase, Parker, these guys make people miss. They're strong. They break tackles. Cody Hagan as well. And we know JoJo's capable of that, so we're hoping to get that back at some point too. That's a huge part of our offense, yes.
Kalani said that Parker kind of got back to his normal self. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah.
He performed?
Yeah, he just got off to a little slow start just because of how much time he missed in fall camp. He didn't practice very much, and even the best players need to practice. And I think he had less than 10 pass attempts from Bear in fall camp, and now those pass attempts are starting to accrue in practice, and it's showing up in the games.
So would you say the run game is going to be a big key to winning the game on Saturday?
It's always a key. We're a team that wants to, we want to be a balanced offense. We want to be able to run it and throw it in any situation. And so, yeah, these guys it's very tough to run the ball against these guys, but we have to find some ways to keep them honest, and have some balance, yes.
I don't know how you measure this, but to your point about Parker and Bear maybe having very limited reps before the season, how would you say just Bear's chemistry with the receivers as a whole has come along and now, 5 games in? It's
progressing well. It's on schedule. We still have a lot of work to do, a long way to go. We haven't, there's a lot left to prove still, of course, but they are getting better every day just by working together. It's just how it goes. The more you play together, the more chemistry you develop. You think back of Jaron Hall and Puka, or Zach Wilson and Neil Pau, or whatever, those guys. It just develops over time.
What is something that you do want to see from Bear that maybe he hasn't shown you yet in games that you feel like he still has that ability?
Just keep getting a little bit better each game. There's nothing glaring. There's no one thing. I just want him to just keep improving. I thought last game he played an outstanding game. There was a couple of plays he could have done better, but played very well.
You mentioned coordinator's corner. You think this is the hardest 6-game stretch upcoming in BYU football history. Is there any way to quantify that in your mind, other than just perception?
First of all, no team ever played 6 Power 5 teams before, and prior to the Big 12 era, and then these are good football teams. Starting with this one right here, Arizona is a very good team. They're playing good ball, and we know they have a great quarterback, and they have a very good defense, and we're playing on the road. It's going to be a huge challenge.
Is there any concern from you and the coaches about any potential look ahead from your team, or are you guys pretty locked into this?
No, these guys have our attention for sure. I mean, all you got to do is turn on the tape. They haven't given up a passing touchdown yet this year. Nobody's been able to run the ball on them. They fly around and hit people, and their only loss was at Iowa State, which that's not an easy place to play. So yeah, everybody, we respect this team a lot.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you, Coach.
There's BYU offensive coordinator Aaron Roderick. Now, the Utes are getting ready to host Arizona State. Here's Kyle Whittingham in advance of that game.
Kyle, how was Tuesday's practice?
Really good. It was a lot like a Wednesday practice. We're a day ahead with the bye week, and so we retooled the practice schedule a little bit, but very good 2 days so far this week. We've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday coming up, and then obviously we play Saturday night.
Kyle, the NCAA board recently just changed the transfer portal window to a 1-2 week period in January.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that, and how does that change recruiting?
I think it's a positive. I don't think any coach in the country was in favor of 2 portal windows. It's just too much instability for your roster, and so I think that's a big step in the right direction. There is no perfect time to put it at the mid-year. If you go too early, then you got guys complaining. If you go too late, guys complaining. So I think it's probably in about as good a spot as it can be, and overall it's a net positive for everybody, I believe.
What do you think are some of the positives that come from that, especially with just tampering, renegotiating deals in the spring? I mean, what comes to mind?
Yeah, those exact things right there is we'll cut down on the tampering and renegotiations and that type of thing, and then what your roster is. Mid-year, you don't have to wait till after spring ball to know who you got on your team, and where your deficiencies are, and what you have to do. So I think it's I don't see any negatives to it at all. I think it's a positive all the way around.
Kyle, curious about Devin Lloyd had that 99-yard pick six last night. What are your thoughts on how he's been playing this season?
Well, it was bittersweet for me because my son's with the Chiefs, and so it was a negative in that respect. but thrilled for Devin, and I had just communicated with him earlier in the week how well he's playing, and he's just really coming into his own. And he texted me back, says, "Coach, I'm just getting started." And obviously he was right because he had another great game last night.
What stands out about Arizona State's run defense?
Their fundamentals and their technique. They do a great job with their front seven, staying square, separating from blocks, just playing basic fundamental football. And I think that's really the strength of what they do on defenses, and that permeates all the way through the secondary. They're not overly complicated or elaborate schematically, but they're so good fundamentally and technique-wise, and they're athletic. They run really well.
Devin Dippier was largely under-recruited in high school. Never got an offer from ASU. His only, I think, P5 offer was Arizona. Does he come into games like this with a chip on his shoulder, just knowing?
I don't know. You have to ask him. I know that we're thrilled he's here. I can tell you that right now, and he's been great for us. But there might be a little bit of that in the back of his mind, but he'd give you a better answer than I would, of course.
Coming off of a bye week, there can be rust in that. How have you felt about the intensity and energy level in practice so far?
Really good. A bye week, you got it's a balancing act. You want to give them a break and give them a chance to get healthy and get their legs back, but at the same time, you don't want to get rusty. And so I think we do a good job here traditionally of striking a balance between the work that needs to be done and the rest and recuperation. And the team appears really fresh right now. Had a really good first 2 days of the week practice, and last week was good as well. So I'd say that the mindset and the physical state of the team right now is pretty good.
Yeah, night game, Kyle. How excited are you guys for that? Do you get a sense of how your team is excited for the first night game at Rice Eccles?
Yeah, night games at Rice Eccles are pretty intense, and this is our first one, as you mentioned, and our guys are excited about it. And but again, we don't really care a whole lot about when we kick off, but I know our fans love the night games at Rice Eccles, and it gets loud in there. It seems to be much louder at night than it does during the day.
There's Kyle Whittingham. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more football with Riley Nelson and Frank Dolce. Stay with us. DJ and PK, joined once again by Frank Dolce, the former Ute quarterback. Frank, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
This is it, Frank.
Tuesday.
Oh,
this is it?
This is it. Time to put on the big boy pants. Does it feel like the whole season hangs in the balance these next 2 weeks? Too dramatic, overstated, or win these two games and start planning a path to the conference title game? Lose these two games, and what happened since they moved to the Big 12?
Yes. Well, win the two games, and then the path looks really winnable. But I still say the same thing about this football team is like they just have to prove it every week. They're not quite to the point where you can say I still feel like this team is a team that can win the rest of their games. Like they can go through the rest of the schedule and pick up all those wins, but they have to stay healthy, very few mistakes, and play at the top of their game every week. And I think they can do that. I think there's enough talent to do that. But I don't know. To be fair, I don't know how strongly I feel about them being able to accomplish that. Getting to the conference championship game certainly doable. But I think you're right. It probably comes down to these 2 weeks.
Yeah, I can argue that they need to win Saturday night because if they don't, then I'm assuming Texas Tech's going to have a spot. And at that point, if they were to lose to the Sun Devils, they would then need the Sun Devils to lose 3 games. They'd need them to go 3-3 to have the tiebreaker over them, right? Because you'd have 2 losses, they'd have 0. So you would need, if they only got 2, then they would have that. So rather than worry about the second week, and it's a BYU week, so it's a fun week and all that stuff, but I think it's clear that they need to win Saturday to at least stay in the race. It's hard for me to imagine anybody in this league winning 8 consecutive league games. I just don't know that I see it. The league is just too balanced. But, that's not the way you really look at it. You're not looking at winning 8 consecutive games. Obviously, it's the cliche of winning 8 times, not 8 games. You know what I mean? The difference there. So in my mind, it's put up or shut up Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it starts Saturday night, and you can't overlook. I mean, I know the rivalry game is coming up, but you just can't even have that on your mind. All focus has to be on this week. And I agree. I mean, but I think all the teams in the league, including Texas Tech, which I think they had another dominant performance over the weekend, especially at the line of scrimmage. Like, I'm becoming more and more of a believer at their line of scrimmage. So, but even Texas Tech could throw out a stinker. You just, it's really tough. Yeah. It's really hard to be undefeated, and I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, did you think New England would beat Buffalo the other night? I didn't think that would happen, but there you go. It's right out in front of you. So I feel like this team is just making good progress. This Utah football team is making incremental progress. I don't know if they haven't, to me, reached the level of expectation that we had coming out of camp, but they've shown signs of being able to do all those things. And if they can put it all together week after week, out.
The story of that Texas Tech game was Utah's offensive line, which is supposed to be the best line Kyle's ever had, and the Texas Tech defensive line just won battle after battle after battle after battle. It was obvious. Well, Texas Tech is number 1 in the league against the run, and number 2 is Arizona State. So what level of confidence do you have? Texas Tech gives up 65 yards a game, ASU 78. They both give up less than 3 yards a carry.
Yeah.
What level of confidence do you have that the Utah offensive line, having had a nightmare and seen it on tape, can now go out and have a good game against ASU?
I think that Texas Tech game was a learning experience. By the way, that two things can be true at the same time. That may be Utah's best offensive line. I don't know if that's true, but it could be true. But it's also probably true that that's Texas Tech's best defensive line. And they just won that night. So I guess what I'm saying is Utah's offensive line is very talented. Had a wake-up call against Texas Tech, and we'll see if the wake-up call was meaningful against Arizona State. I mean, the thing that has always bugged me about this offense is if Utah can't run the ball, are they going to be able to keep a defense off balance, create mismatches, and push the ball downfield with the passing game? I don't know that that's been proven yet. Like I said earlier, I think we've seen signs of good things, but it hasn't been constant and consistent enough. So if Utah's able to run the ball against Arizona State, everything else kind of opens up, and that's a good day for Utah. If Utah is not able to run the ball against Arizona State, or if Arizona State just comes up and says, look, we are not threatened by your passing game, so here you go. Here's 11 people within 8 to 10 yards of the line of scrimmage, and if you think it's just going to be a grind if you think you're going to run the ball. So, here's your other option. If that occurs, Utah has to be able to respond. And I think they have the ability. I think they have the depth of talent, meaning lots of kind of equally talented people in the passing game available to spread the ball around. I think they have the talent. I think they have the ability. Now they just have to do it with some level of consistency and efficiency.
Yeah, I think, Frank, that is the season-long question The number one question
no doubt.
every single game is can they run the ball? Because it's really not a knock against Dampier, because that's not where his talent resides. He didn't get to where he is as a starting quarterback on a Power 4 team with high aspirations because he's Andrew Luck or whomever who was great in college. No, it's his athletic ability to make a whole variety of plays, not simply pick you apart through the air. And everybody knows this. So if they can't run, they're going to be in trouble. Now, the flip side is if they can run, it's going to be good times. It's simple to diagnose, hard to execute, but easy to put in a nutshell. How are they going to win this game? Got to run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if we look at as we go throughout the season, it'll be interesting to, once it completes, to go through, look at the schedule, look at the wins and the losses, and I think you'll be able to find a pretty distinct pattern based on what we've seen so far. A pretty distinct pattern of what constitutes a winning effort and what constitutes a not winning effort.
Yeah, I think it's as you say. And I think in this game, it's even more apparent because a lot of the coaches on the Sun Devil staff are from Arizona. And Dillingham, when he got the job, he purposely went and did that so they know Dampier because he played high school ball in the Phoenix area. And not only that, ASU's tight ends coach was the head coach of the high school team that Dampier was the quarterback on. So they know it full well.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they have an understanding. Like, it's not a secret anymore. I mean, the fact that Arizona State has more familiarity with Dampier that may be helpful for them. But across the league and this number of games into the football season and what Utah has shown, I don't think it's a secret.
Not at all.
About, how to play or how to pressure or how to force things against Utah offensively. So, it's just that'll be the interesting thing to watch is Utah's offensive line capable of managing a situation like Texas Tech, Arizona State, others in the league that are really good at stopping the run. Can Utah and can Dampier develop the passing game enough to pressure a defense and force them to get out of this everybody at the line of scrimmage, we're going to stop the run mentality? I think you're exactly right. That's just going to be the storyline for the rest of the year. And we'll see if other quarterbacks come into play throughout the football season for Utah. I'm not saying that you're going to split time with anybody, but there may be a change up that you can throw with a different quarterback who may throw the ball better or pressure a team differently through the passing game.
The rest of their schedule, they've got 3 teams left that are really good against the run, and they got 4 teams left on the schedule that are worse than West Virginia against the run. And I think if you're even in West Virginia's ballpark, Utah's going to run all over you as they ran all over West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, when you say who's good stopping the run, you list the best teams in the league. Texas Tech is 1, ASU is 2, BYU is 3, Cincinnati is 5. All right, well, the Utes are 0-1 against Texas Tech, and now they got these other 3, and that's why I brought up the Arizona State and BYU games. BYU's 3rd. So everything we're saying now, we're going to be, okay, they did whatever they did against ASU. Now how do they run the ball against BYU?
Yeah, and you mentioned the other team in there that I think was impressive over the weekend is Cincinnati. And so that's one that I think you have to circle on the schedule as well.
Yep.
Just because of what you said, like offensively, I think they're manageable. Like Cincinnati's manageable on the offensive side. Utah's defense, Cincinnati's offense. I like that matchup. But it's just the same thing. At the line of scrimmage, can Utah create enough movement at the line of scrimmage to get a run game going? So I don't know. I guess I'm hopeful that Texas Tech was meaningful enough to be a real wake-up call, that the offensive line that had a lot of high expectations and accolades coming out maybe had a little bit of a reality check and has things back in order, or at least on the right track. And then we'll see. I mean, we've said it a lot. Dampier's not a classic thrower of the football, but I think the way you combat that is with the number of people around who can make an offensive play catching the ball or taking a pass from Dampier, and that doesn't necessarily have to be, throwing it 25 yards downfield.
The thing that disappointed me in the Texas Tech game, besides obviously the loss, is that, okay, we could all sit there, whether in the press box, you're in the stadium, or you're sitting in front of your television, that what they were doing wasn't working. And it didn't seem like it varied much. It's like it wasn't working, and it's still not working. How about we try something different?
It's a really good point, and I've mentioned that before. Like, when do we start saying, okay, is it the talent that's just not executing, or is it a game plan that's not taking advantage of the available talent? And I'm leaning on at the moment that it's more on the talent side and not an execution side than it is on the game plan side. But a few more games like, what we've seen, I think you have to start calling, you might have to start calling that into question a little bit. And you never, it's hard to tell. It's easy for us to look back and say, well, why didn't you do this differently? Why didn't you do that differently? And who knows? Maybe there were injuries. Maybe there were other things happening that we're just not aware of that led to a more conservative approach in whatever the situation was. I'm just, that's my hope that was what was occurring, that we just don't know all of the details. But I think there is a little bit of a question about, okay, is there more creativity available on the offensive side to enable the offense to manufacture yardage? So I think it's something that we can talk about for sure.
Yeah.
I would say the two players, the whole theory about whether you call plays to call plays or you call plays because of the players, call the plays for the players. Why is Wayshawn Parker averaging 8.5 carries a game when he's averaging 6.7 yards, almost 7 yards per carry? How come he's not in double digits every game? Now you can say, hey, it's Cal Poly and they don't want to get him hurt. And so I get how those numbers, can be a little bit misleading. But if you're struggling moving the ball, I think he needs touches. And I do not understand how Merriweather has only 6 catches. I think they need. Yeah. I think he needs more catches. And if you can't throw him the ball down the field, then throw him one of those medium routes. Hit him at 10, 12, 15 yards and see if you can make a play there.
There's another way to get him the ball for sure. Well, that, in the midst of the battle week after week, sometimes it's difficult to make those adjustments. Hopefully that's what the bye week provided, is an opportunity to run through film, look through all of the data, and then determine where your highest opportunity for productivity is. And I think you're right on those two guys, is they need to be much more involved in the offense. Now, here's the other thing. Like, sometimes you design plays to get guys like that involved in the offense, and the guy pulling the trigger isn't comfortable with that. There's something that happens on the defensive side, it's taken away, something happens too quickly, whatever, and the decision is not made to go that way. So, I mean, that's another thing, is we could be watching an offense that is being designed around productive guys that have proven productivity, but it's just not being executed for whatever reason. I mean, there's lots of different reasons. So, but I agree. Like, when you have talent on the field like that, and that talent is clearly moving the ball, then that's the thing. You have to find the way to get the ball in those guys' hands and help them manufacture the offense. At points has struggled a little bit.
Frank, we appreciate it as always. 2 massive games coming up, but we're just going to take them one at a time.
No.
That's how we're wired, Frank.
One game at a time.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
There's not a second week. It's this week only. There's not another week.
There it is. Thanks, Frank. We'll talk to you again next week when there'll be one more
guys.
game.
Yes. All right.
Let's
see you guys.
There's Frank Dolce, the former Ute quarterback. When we come back, former BYU quarterback Riley Nelson. A reminder to join Hans and Scotty G Friday from noon to 3 at RGS Exteriors, 4235 Farm Road in West Jordan. Riley Nelson coming up next. DJ PK, and we're joined once again by Riley Nelson, former BYU quarterback. Riley, good morning.
Morning, fellas.
Riley, you have walked in his shoes. You know a little bit about this. So we were curious a few games into Bear Bachmeier's freshman season, as a guy who had to play as a true freshman. What do you think? How's it going? What were your expectations, and how's he matching them?
I was talking with a friend about this, and you come out of one of the biggest things, you almost have to get retrained from your high school days, because when you're in high school, you're and obviously if you're the caliber of player in high school that gets the opportunity to start, especially at the P4 level, as a true freshman, like you were superior probably to your peers. And so it allowed you to play somewhat kind of like undisciplined or maybe like hero ball, like put it all on me, because when you would put it all on you in high school, it went in your favor like 90% of the time, right? And you would cover a multitude of mistakes and all those things. I am blown away by his ability to remain poised and stay within the system and execute at a high level. Like the dude is unflappable. Now, he's going into a stretch of the schedule. It's easy to remain unflappable when, I say, I kind of give that like high school, you're just so much a better player, and so you get away with a lot of stuff. Up to this point in the schedule, like it's been apparent that at least up front, and definitely on an all-22 basis, like BYU has been superior to their opponents from a size, strength, even speed standpoint. So he's getting into the part of the schedule where I think that's going to be tested. His poise is going to be tested a little bit. But when you ask me, like my biggest thing, and comparing it to my experience, I don't know where he found this, and I don't know how he was able to detrain himself of it. Because like when I look at him compared to me, I was productive, but as a freshman, but I was like, you had to take the good with the bad, right? Like I would make plays. It was like, but then I'd also turn around, that you wouldn't expect from a true freshman. That I also turn around and make bonehead mistakes, turnovers, things that kind of cost my team. Bears yet to even hint at doing anything that's costing this BYU team and this BYU offense, and it's just incredibly impressive to me.
With a youngster, how much can knowledge overcome and mitigate the lack of experience? Because Aaron Roderick has said that this kid understands what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably it, PK, is like he's probably wise beyond his years, and he, of course, having the spring, he was an early enrollee, so that helps. I wasn't in a position to be able to do that. So he's had a spring ball. He's been able to observe and be around 2 different programs, which kind of that diversity of thought, being able to see the way things were at Stanford and then the things at BYU, that actually increases your depth rather quickly. And yeah, I mean, the knowledge, when I think back, though, like as a true freshman, I was taking on column protection, identifying blitzes, hots. Of course, I knew the game plan and the play calls inside and out. Like anybody who has any semblance of pride that's gonna try and compete at quarterback in the Division I level, and especially at the P4 level, is gonna like have that baseline knowledge. I think the knowledge combined with the complete control of his emotions is why we're seeing the production that we're seeing. So credit to him for putting in the work to be able to have that knowledge that then never puts him in a position of panic or feeling like I don't know what to do. To this point, and granted, has he been able to execute on all the answers? No, he's made some mistakes, and there's been some missed opportunities and some things like that. But what I haven't seen is him like, I'm not sure what to do here, and you get that mini freak out, and it costs the team. Again, I'm going to say he's getting to the point of the schedule where you're going to see when you get an increased level of competition, it increases the likelihood that you find yourself in scenarios where you've never found yourself before, and panic is a natural emotion to kind of set in and see how he handles that. But his knowledge of the offense and just his command of the offense is beyond his years for sure.
The mini freak out. I haven't heard that language used before, but I like it. I think we might start working that in.
You know what, DJ? Maybe it's probably not. It was probably more of a Riley thing than it is a general QB thing.
No, I don't think so.
So it was for me, but anyway.
I've seen balls. The pass is just thrown up for grabs or thrown straight to a defender. Right? That's the mini freak out. Your brain locks for a second and you lose it. It happens.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened to him a lot, so that's positive. You ran, but you were more of an elusive scrambler. They like to run him down the middle. I mean, really, he's the fullback wearing number 47, just banging into people if necessary. Are you comfortable with that? Does it make you a little nervous? What do you think?
Well, have you guys seen him walk? Like, they show these clips of him walking into the locker room in street clothes.
Yeah.
Like, have you seen his ankles, his knees? Like, when you're evaluating football players, you just look at, like, thick joints. And, he's just that dude. Like, I got to be honest, guys. Like, he's a true freshman. I'm sitting here like, as he matures into his body, are they going to keep him under 250? I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but his frame just packs on weight. And, PK mentioned the knowledge. I think he's got the knowledge of being able to assess risk and know when to do that. But, DJ, to your question, yeah, I like them running up the middle, but you know what? They don't do it wonton. It's not willy-nilly. It's not random. Like, I'm throwing all sorts of terms out there that you don't hear every day. But sorry, but regardless, what I'm saying is they save those draw opportunities and they save those up the middle for third and manageables. So if you pay attention to 3rd and 5 to 3rd and 8, like that's when they dial up that draw up the middle, and then they do it in the red zone. And they always do it. Credit to Coach Roderick and credit to the rest of that offensive staff. Like, yes, he is executing on the play calls that they are giving him. But, guys, as I watch these games, I am continually impressed by this offensive staff of BYU to just time after time, drive after drive, key down after key down, put him and that entire offense in places to be successful. Because if you look, part of the reason why I'm not worried about it, DJ, is like when he's running – they've caught the defense where they're dropping 8, right? Or linebackers are out. Like, they're not having him run draws into blitzes, into middle dogs, or they're not getting caught off guard. And that, to me, just shows the scouting the scouting and play calling for this BYU offensive staff is so dialed in, and you're seeing it, on display each and every week.
Since they're in the Big 12 now, the whole dynamic of the schedule has flip-flopped, meaning when they were independent, they played the tougher games early right out of the chute, and then the schedule got easier as the season gone on. And conversely now, the easier games were at the beginning, and you've just talked about the schedule. The next 5, 6 games look like, as Aaron Roderick is saying, and I agree with him, toughest in BYU history. So with that in mind, because the schedule was softer, do you think they could have pulled this off to the level that they have if it was reversed with a freshman quarterback? And do you think maybe they would have gone with more of an experienced guy if it were, as it had been all those years in independence, with the schedule tougher early, because there was a nice landing spot for this kid to come in and get his feet wet and all that stuff?
I think they could have pulled it off, but it would have required a ton more strength to manage expectations and manage. Like, I think within the building, it would have been fine, because when you get in there and you're watching, you're watching the cut up as a team, and then you're watching the film as an offense, defense, and in position groups. Like, you can see when a young player, like, you can see that a young player has it, but maybe it's not 100% translating over the field. I guess what I'm saying is that their schedule been reversed with, the tougher part in the first 5 to 6 games. I think you could have totally done it because Bear would have been the same Bear. But what they would have had to have done is control the narrative externally that, like, listen, despite maybe, going 3-2 or 2-3, despite maybe going that, this kid still has it. Like, this kid's still the future, because what would have happened. I think in the building it would have been fine, but what would have happened, had they played this stretch for the first 5 games, like was the case during the independence era, is, they probably, to your point, they probably go 2-3 or 3-2, and everybody's questioning, like, I don't know, is this the guy? Maybe we should have seen Hillstead. Maybe Hillstead having some starts under his belt would have helped here and there, but I think Bear's proven unequivocally. I mean, you look at the comparisons between him and Retzlaff, who last year was coming off having started the last 4 games of the previous season and was coming off full junior college seasons. And here Bachmeier steps in, and you look at the comparison. And granted, we haven't equalized quite yet for competition, but I mean, his production is right on par, if not superior. So it would have been possible. It just would have taken a lot more work in getting out ahead and buffering against the impatient fan base that would have started questioning the decision to go with the young guy out the gate.
You mentioned the stats haven't quite equalized, right? We're 5 games in, and you got money games in there changing the stats. And if you happen to draw Oklahoma State or West Virginia early, that might alter your stats a little bit. But Arizona is 4th against the run. What do you think of BYU's run game, and what do you think about BYU's ability to run the ball against one of the better run defenses in the conference so far?
Yeah, I was looking in preparation for being on with you guys. I was just kind of looking at team stats and where things line up, and I think you got 2 productive quarterbacks. I think you got 2 opportunistic and stout defenses. I think the difference in this game. And I listened to your segment with Dolce prior. So I don't mean to be a broken record for your listeners, but I think that's going to be the difference. That's the biggest edge that BYU has in this matchup over Arizona, is the run game and LJ Martin. Arizona's a little bit more by committee. Well, it's the run game and LJ Martin, but then it's also the opportunistic and the productivity, again, on third downs and in the red zone, of being able to use Bachmeier. And Fafita runs around a lot, but if you look, I think he had like 43 carries for 45 yards. He's mostly running around to extend plays, whereas BYU, as PK alluded to, will send, or both of you, send Bachmeier up the gut to go get first downs and go get touchdowns in the red zone. But it's a couple. So statistically, this is probably the best defense that BYU has faced. But conversely, I feel pretty confident in saying that this is the best offensive front and running game that Arizona has faced. So I think it's going to be an interesting challenge to look at. And I think that if BYU can maintain an advantage there, I really like their chances in this game. If it comes out, and it's early, that Arizona has figured out this offensive front and is stifling LJ Martin, and BYU cannot establish that ground game early, boy, this game's going to turn into a toss-up that's going to come down to the last possession really quickly.
You as a quarterback, Riley, were always able to express yourself about the game and the situations in great detail, and every writer and every interviewer always appreciated that. And then you did a little broadcasting. In my mind, you are required to express yourself as far as college football goes because you do it so well, but you got off to broadcast. How are you doing it? Because you have to get your fill. You are required, probably by a higher being, to express yourself because you do it so well in football. So how are you getting your fix now and expressing yourself since you're no longer on the games?
Yeah, so my contribution to my text thread with like my former teammates, my high school buddies, and my brothers has gone like through the roof. I just dump it in there, and it's not quite kosher. If you're going like 4 or 5 texts in a row, you probably need to chill out. But to your point, PK, I can't help myself.
I know.
Like I'm going 7-8 deep, and then the second nature is so I gave up the microphone because my oldest got into tackle football,
Right.
and as much as it was a great opportunity to do that, it's been a dream of mine. My dad coached me, and I grew up not waiting to coach my son. So. Unfortunately, those 7 and 8 year olds. Luckily, I've got an assistant coach and defensive coordinator that once I'll break it down to teach a point, and I probably need to spend 10 seconds teaching the point. But then all of a sudden, I'll be 3 minutes into it, and he'll tap me on the shoulder. He's like, "You think we should get the drill going again?" They don't need to worry about the tilts and the safety and running against the bubble in the defensive front. Anyway, so unfortunately, the 7 and 8 year old scouts in the Ute conference, and then the text threads with the friends and family are where all that excess and uncontainable energy is going.
Well, if we got to get the fix between in the morning, just give us a call. We'll get you on anytime.
Absolutely, love to.
Hey, never underestimate kids' ability to learn stuff. I saw this happen. Like, you teach kids something, first or second grade, whatever, they learn to do it. And then they're in the 5th grade and they got a different coach and it's like, oh, you can't teach that. Kids understand that. I'm like, no, I literally saw them do it. So stand your ground there, Riley. They're picking this stuff up.
No, I like it. And to your point, like, challenge it. Like, you don't know if they can handle it or not until you give them the assignment and give them the challenge and do that. I'm all for it. But and to your point, like, Our kids, like 7 and 8 years old, it's crazy. The U Conference a couple years ago opened it up all the way down to second graders. And if my son wasn't begging me to play, I probably wouldn't have started him because I've coached other youth sports, the baseball, the junior jazz, the soccer. And, like, football requires so much coordination, and it also requires – not like physical coordination, but meaning coordination with the other 10 guys. Mm-hmm. And you have to be assignment, but then you also have to give great effort. And I didn't think it would work with second-year-olds, but to your point, DJ, like, these guys rise to the occasion, and it surprised me in a lot of ways. So it's been a great joy, but the pontification on what's going on a Saturday has not ceased at all.
Nice. All right, Riley. Well, thanks for joining us. We love having you on.
Always a pleasure. Be back soon.
There's Riley Nelson. A reminder to nominate the youth sports volunteer that you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contests and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. What is trending is next.